But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
Where's this coming from?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the 9x9, the 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage on the internet. Today is, Monday, September 25th. It's episode 88. My name's Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That is Everett Delorme, live from Toronto, north of the border. Everett, we have more than half of the Olympic field on the women's side now filled out.
We do.
The women's Olympic qualifier tournaments are done.
Finito.
6 bids have been given out in addition to France, the host. And
Si, senor.
as we were hoping for, the last 3 days of that tournament were absolutely bananas.
Yes, absolutely.
That was so electric, and I'm so excited to dig into all this. And then we got to preview the men's, which is starting this weekend. But
and Norseca Final 6. I know you hate it, but
my team won, and I still don't care.
What the one thing that was only slightly annoying is that I feel like if you were a fan of certain teams in this tournament, you only had to watch the past 3 days.
That's 100% true.
You only had to watch the weekend. But of course, my team Canada makes it so all of their good matches were earlier in the week, and then I had to watch all of the other ones this weekend as well. But Rob,
and on the other side of the world,
and on the other side of the world as well. So luckily, my drinking habits do have me up quite late. So I was able to watch quite a few of them. But Rob, that was just a phenomenal end to the international women's volleyball calendar for this year. Do we just want to jump in right away?
Yep.
And let's just go over the six teams that won the bids now.
So we're gonna talk about the 2 teams from each group that got top 2 in their pool, got bids, and we're gonna talk about the rest of the group. Let's start with the surprise, Everett, the one that neither of us picked, and finishing first place in Group A, the Dominican Republic. Come out of nowhere in by far the most difficult group, and the Dominican Republic, with their only loss of the week being to the Czech Republic, gets a bid to the 2024 Olympics. Huge congratulations to the Norseca champions. You and I did not expect this. This was stunning and very, very impressive. The Dominican Republic beats Serbia, China, Canada, and the Netherlands. They beat all 4 of them to go to the Olympics.
Are we going through the qualifying teams one by one? We don't just have one graphic with all 6?
Oh no, we're going one by one.
Okay, one by one. I mean, okay. First and foremost, I don't want to say neither of us picked us as one of our teams, but I did say after the Norseca Championships and during our broadcast in West Virginia, Rob, that to me the Dominican Republic was a dark horse. Now, when they lost that first game to the Czech Republic, I was like, "Oh baby, let's go."
Yeah,
I was sharpening my knives, and you know what? It's tough because we lost them. It was like 15-13 in the 5th, 15-12. Like it was a 5-setter. It went to the limit, and that would have made the difference for Team Canada. And I was kind of thinking like, yo, if Dominicans out here losing to Czech Republic, they've almost lost to us. They might go 0-3 in the last 3 games. They might lose to the Netherlands, they might lose to China, and then might lose to Serbia. But instead, when I watched them, they won the first set against Serbia, and Serbia came back and won the second, and then they won the third. And when I watched them win against Serbia, I was like, whoa. That
not the exact same thing.
Not only whoa in terms of like how they did it, but also whoa, like that's a big dagger. Big dagger for Canada. It's really too bad that we weren't able to get sneak off with that win against the Dominican Republic. Had we won that game, right, we would have got 2 points from that. We would have gone through, right, because we were only 1 point behind Serbia. We beat Serbia, whatever. But I do think that the Dominican Republic fully earned this. They were, especially over the course of this weekend, they were the best team consistently in this pool. And this is a much better version of the Dominican Republic than we saw even earlier this summer at the VNL. They were phenomenal. The past month for them has been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, it's been incredible. They've elevated themselves into a tier of global women's volleyball that I did not think that they could, especially not at this point. I mean, it has to be said that Brenda Castillo has to be the best libero in the world.
In the world. And Rob, like when I was in Quebec City, I was messaging you being like, dude, like Brenda, watching her in person is so next level. So next level. The reads that she makes, just the confidence that she has on the floor, and also her demeanor with her teammates is so much fun to watch. There is no doubt about it in my mind that she is the best libero in the world, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
It's not even close. It was awesome to watch. But the rest of that Dominican team too, they're so physical.
Oh yeah,
so physical. The Martinez sisters, man, Gonzalez, like it, like the list goes on and on, and they're so deep. So honestly, big ups to the Dominican Republic. They more than anyone, I think, right now, like they earned this. It was the tough pool. C was like the toughest pool, I would say, in terms of top to bottom, and they came out to play. They only lost one game, and it was to a nothing team, and they went out and beat the top 2 seeds in the pool. 100%. All kudos goes to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, this was the hardest pool by far, and after losing to, like, it was interesting the way that the schedule shaked out, and I was figuring this out kind of as the tournament was going on. It's going to be the same for the men's. We can talk about it later, but like the seed, kind of like the seed where you got in the pool, really had a lot to do with what your schedule was. Like Canada, for example, was the 5 seed in the pool. Mm-hmm. They were the only 5 seed in any of the pools that was remotely competitive or like had a chance to qualify, which is to Canada's credit. But because of that, that's kind of like you said, that only in those last 3 days were the top 4 teams playing each other.
Yeah.
Right. So after the Dominican Republic lost to the Czech Republic on day 1,
I had them written off.
Same, because their hardest volleyball was still ahead of them yet at that point. And they had to play Canada, who's by far the hardest 5 seed in the tournament, and they beat them in 5 and then rolled through Ukraine and Mexico. But then not only did they beat Serbia, China, and Netherlands in a row, and the Netherlands match had its own interesting kind of scenario. They beat Serbia and China both for 3 points.
Yeah,
they beat Serbia in 4. They beat China in 4 in China. Like 6 points from those 2 teams that are both like they were our 2 favorites to make it out of this pool. And then the way that it worked out with the Netherlands match on day 7 was that all Dominican needed was to win 2 sets. As soon as they won 2 sets, they were in. They went up 2-1. They ended up winning the match in 5, but it didn't really matter except like maybe for ranking points. But once they went up 2-1, it was over. Their bid was theirs. But it was those Serbia and China wins were like program defining wins for that team.
Honestly, like I thought, with especially the decline over the years of Bethania de la Cruz, that this team was going to kind of fizzle out, that they've had their decade. And we've seen that with a few different programs over this course of time now, where they had their decade and now they're kind of fizzling out. This younger generation that's coming up for the Dominican Republic is so damn good.
They're really good.
This is a team that we really need to watch. And yeah, like it is what it is. They're just really good. They deserve all of it.
They absolutely do. And speaking of teams that are really good and deserve all of it, congratulations to Serbia. No surprise here. Serbia was on paper the best team in this pool. They played for most of the tournament like the best team in this pool. They ended up finishing in second only because they had the bid locked up after day 6. So their match against China was totally meaningless for Serbia. Actually ended up helping China a lot in the rankings after a pretty rough tournament. But Serbia was one of 2 teams only to get bids after day 6. Day 7 didn't end up mattering to them. That's how good Serbia was in the hardest pool. Their only real loss was to the Dominican Republic. I mean, they beat everybody else pretty convincingly. They beat Canada in 3-0. They beat the Netherlands. What was the score of that one? I think they got 3 points from that one as well. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, they beat 3 on the Netherlands.
3-0. Yeah, I mean, Czech, Ukraine, Mexico. Yeah, no problem. So like Serbia steamrolled their way through. As to be expected.
As to be expected. I mean, this is a team that really fizzled out during the VNL, but they bounced back nicely. I think Guidetti's done a good job with this roster. I mean, hey, they steamrolled us when they played us, especially that second set. Like it wasn't even close. But yeah, big ups for Serbia. Just looking at it now, even if Canada had won that third set against the Dominican Republic. I don't know if we had gone through because Serbia's set ratio was 17-7, whereas ours was 17-11. Had that changed, it would have been 8. Yeah. But I mean, Serbia deserves it through and through. I mean, I don't even think we need to talk about it.
No,
It's more of a relief than anything.
Oh,
that Serbia is still Serbia, and that this team is still world class, especially with Guidetti at the helm. Like this team is still, in my opinion, it's still a medal contender for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
for Paris in the summer.
I think there's two classes of teams that were playing this past week. There are the ones that it would have been insane if they did not qualify, and the Olympic qualifier tournament is only a step along the way to their ultimate goals of Olympic medals. And I think like a Serbia, USA, Turkey. And then you can kind of debate who else is in that category. But like a team like Serbia, it should never have been in doubt that they were going to get a bid through this tournament, and it wasn't. So like that's mission accomplished for them.
I would disagree. I think there's 3 tiers. I think there's the teams that are going to the Olympics and are medal contenders. I think there's the teams that are on the cusp, and then I think that the teams that were just there for fun.
Right? as for Olympic qualifiers, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Half the teams in the tournament had no business being there, and I think we should talk about that maybe a little bit more. But the like as for the teams that will end up going to the Olympics, I think
it's happy to be there in medal contenders.
Yeah, there's going to be 3 tiers because there's going to be a terrible African team that goes, and that team will truly only be happy to be there. But Serbia is a legitimate medal contender for the Olympics. There's no question about it. They have one of the best players on the planet in Tijana Boskovic. That in women's volleyball now, kind of the fact of the matter is that if you want to contend for major international medals, you need a player like that, and they have one. And we've seen Boskovic carry them to major tournament wins before, and they have a good cast of characters everywhere else. They're excellent in the middle. They have 2 good setters, and Durcha didn't even play this tournament. So she'll be back. They have at least 3, I would say 4 pretty good outside hitters. Like Serbia is going to be very scary, and that shouldn't surprise anyone. So congratulations to them.
They're the 2-time defending world champions, like
right.
That's enough said. All right, Rob, let's move on over to
we got more to talk about in this pool because
we're going about pool by pool. Okay.
Yeah, because there are 3 other teams in this pool that had shots to qualify. I'd say 2 of them had good weeks. 1 of them did not. That would be China. I think China is pretty disappointing. But
I think we need to talk about China right now. I think that was a terrible output by China.
Very bad.
But losing as much as they did, and realistically they should have been 3 and 4 for the week, because they should have lost to Serbia as well if Serbia hadn't just thrown that. Like they didn't care. They pulled to France probably the night before and probably went out in Shanghai. China, like what happened? Like I still don't know how they beat Canada. I still don't know how we beat China.
Yeah, we were talking about that on our last show, and I still don't understand how that happened.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. They were so reliant on Li Yingying, and no one else was really able to score for them. But also, like, it didn't seem like playing at home affected them at all. It didn't seem like it mattered to them at all. Like it just didn't look like they were playing with any pride until the end when it was too late.
Yeah. That's the disappointing part, is because during VNL, when they took silver out of nowhere earlier this summer,
right? Like they were good,
and they were playing with so much pride. Like the body language and the eye test, it was night and day different in a bad way for this tournament, because they were playing at home. They had a great chance to go back to the Olympics, where, I mean, let's be serious, the Chinese women when was the last time they even missed the Olympics? They have been a mainstay. Like, obviously Lang Ping is one of the great coaches of all time. She's moved on, but Chinese women's volleyball, for them to even potentially not qualify for the Olympics, and I still think that they will, but like that would be insane for that program. They've always been an Olympic mainstay, and they had a golden opportunity to qualify at home and just did not show up. They lost to Canada, they lost to Netherlands, they lost to the Dominican Republic 3 in a row with a day off in between at home. Like, that is just not.
And those are 3 teams that on paper they should not be losing to.
No, definitely.
Right? Those are 3 teams on paper that they should not be losing to. Real quick, China's Olympic record for the women. Their first ever Olympics was 84 in the United States. Did not participate prior to that. Maybe it's a political reason. I don't know. However, Rob, their worst ever finish at the Olympics did come in 2021 in Tokyo, and that was a 9th.
Right. Yeah, they didn't make it out of pools.
Other than that, there was a 7th in 92, but they have 3 golds, 2 bronzes, and a silver since 84. They've hands down been one of the most dominant programs in women's volleyball. It's them in Brazil.
Ever.
Right? Ever.
Yeah.
So, but we're seeing a serious decline right now. Not only is their superstar Li Yingying, I think she's really good, but she's just not. She's not up there as well as much as the other superstars in the world.
Boskovic, Vargas, no, she's not in that tier.
Bro, I don't even think she's up there with like the Alexa Grays of the world. Maybe not. Maybe that's a maybe that's a stretch. But like they just don't have the rest of the team around really, or they didn't for this tournament, which is mind blowing. It seems to me what it looked like is every team that in that pool, Netherlands, Canada, Dominican, all took big steps forward since the end of VNL, and all like you look at the Netherlands getting a 3rd at Euros, obviously Canada, Dominican, we've talked about them, whereas China just stayed the same.
I would say China took a step back. I mean,
if you're not moving forward, you're moving back.
That's true. And VNL, I mean, China was beating all 3 of those sorts of teams, Dominican, Netherlands, Canada, easily, and they got all the way to the playoffs, they got all the way to the final, and then just kind of laid down and died at home in an Olympic qualifier. It was very, very disappointing for sure. And they ended up not doing Canada any favors, because that's kind of what Canada really needed to qualify. Like Canada needed to go. We can talk about Canada a bit. Canada needed to go 9-0 against the bad teams, Ukraine, Czech Republic, Mexico, and they did 9-0 in points. I mean, so like they got 9 points. Check, mission accomplished. They needed Serbia to go undefeated the rest of the way. That didn't happen with the loss of the Czech Republic, and then the one at the end of the last one to China didn't end up mattering. It was over at that point. But what Canada really needed was for China to not go 0-3, or to not go 0-2 against Netherlands and Dominican Republic. And
what Canada really needed was Serbia to sweep those 3 teams,
right,
and then those 3 teams to trade 5-set losses. That was basically the scenario for.
Or to even just beat each other in a triangle, whatever it ended up being. But China going 0-2 and Dominican Republic going 2-0 against those 3 teams in the middle, that was kind of the death blow. But Everett, Canada missed out on qualifying by 1 point as a 5 seed.
By hair as a 5 seed. And then when you look at that too, like basically the where it came down to was losing to the Dominican Republic in that 5-setter.
Yep.
Which don't get me wrong, that's a dagger. That's an absolute dagger. The fact that we went 0-3 against the Dominican Republic this summer is a heartbreaker, considering I think we won 2 matches against them last year, and it really gave me a lot of hope. But I just think that this Dominican team did take a step forward, but I'm massively proud of how this Canadian team played.
For sure.
It's once again another massive step forward, beating a team like the Netherlands, who just got 3rd at Eurovolley and is ranked higher than us. That was a massive step forward. Beating a team like China, the way that they did, and bouncing back like the way that they did throughout that match was huge. Now I'm hesitant to say this, but I do feel like this might be indicative of how this whole Olympic run will go for Team Canada. Because right now, when you look at the qualification and through the standings, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We're still 30 points behind the Netherlands, and now that Dominican Republic has qualified, it's really only between the Netherlands and Canada, and I guess Japan, but even Japan's like 40 points ahead of us.
I mean, I just put the rankings up on the screen.
It's 20. Yeah, I saw that. It's 20 points, I guess, between Canada and Netherlands. So it's going to be close. It's going to be real close. But I have this terrible feeling in my gut that what happened at this tournament, which is like, we're not just standing on the doorstep. We were about to take a step into the door, and the door got slammed in our faces and maybe broke our nose a little bit. You know, I feel like that's what's going to happen for this tournament. But overall, it was a great performance by Team Canada. This team just continues to grow, right? a few years ago when they did their first year at Nations League in the bubble back in Rimini, I could have never imagined that we would be this close to qualifying for the Olympics and going toe to toe with some of the best teams in the world. So a lot of work still needs to be done with this team, and this is still quite a young team when you look at it on paper. When you look at some of the talent coming up in the NCAA and U Sports, it's fantastic. But overall, very proud of how this team performed over the course of the week.
For sure. I mean, I'm not even Canadian, but I've loved watching this Canadian women's team and their growth, and I was proud of them too. Like the gut check wins that they were able to pull off. It was a bummer that they weren't able to get that one more against the Dominican Republic that would have made a big difference. But like the fact that Canada is even in the mix for Olympic qualifying this soon and kind of the building of the program is pretty amazing. It just is, unfortunately, they're very much in a race against the clock, and the clock has a big head start on them for this Olympic cycle. I hope that they're able to pull a miracle, and we can talk about the whole ranking picture after we talk about all the pools. But
ultimately, I know that if I called Shannon Windsor right now, we would have a lengthy discussion off the air, and then we would have a more measured one on the air. But I know she'd be upset. And my message to them would be like hold your heads high.
Oh,
this
for
was a
sure.
fantastic summer for Team Canada women's volleyball. Maybe one of the best ever. I mean, last year's World Championship result was fantastic, but it was huge. And watching this team move forward next year is very exciting to me.
Well said. Last but not least, the Netherlands to talk about in this pool. I mean, they ended up finishing 5th. They had a chance to qualify on day 7.
They did.
They needed to beat the Dominican Republic and get 3 points. If they beat them in 3 or 4, they would have finished 2nd, and then they would have gotten a bid. And just like from losing, and because of how close it was, they drop all the way down to 5th. This was a good tournament for the Netherlands. I think that the Netherlands are kind of a high floor, low ceiling team. They're not gonna play like the Dominican Republic and lose to Czech. Like that's not going to be a thing that happens to them.
Yeah.
But do they have the top level firepower to occasionally punch above their weight class? I would say no. Now that bronze at Eurovolley was a nice performance. They played in a very undermanned, and Italy that they beat in that match has their own problems, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, the Netherlands, they lost in 5 to Canada. They beat China in 5. They got 3-donged by Serbia, and then they went down 2-1 against Dominican Republic, and it was over. So I honestly don't have that much to say about the Netherlands. I think this is a good performance for them. I just didn't really ever see them getting a bid in a pool this difficult.
No, and I think you're bang on when you said that they're a high floor, low ceiling team, whereas like a team like Canada is a low floor, high ceiling team.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with Canada, and I think it's the same with the Dominican. But like when you just look, Rob, at just the stat sheet from the last match against Serbia, and you look at how it was spread out. Like basically every player on this roster except for Laura Dikema got into this match. Like Nova Maring led them in scoring with 11 points. She didn't get subbed into the second set and started the third in a 3-set match, right? They just don't have that go-to scorer. They're really, really good across the board, but they don't have that go-to scorer, that go-to person to just give a lot of volume to. And right now, that's women's volleyball. Right.
Yep.
Right now, that's women's volleyball. If you don't have a top number 1 scorer, it's going to be hard. You're going to have a hard time winning matches.
That's exactly it. So not a bad tournament though from the Netherlands. I think they are about the same spot in the rankings as where they were before, and that's going to be key for them trying to qualify for the Olympics. So we'll talk about the rankings in a bit. But this pool was by far the most fun of the 3. It was electric. It came down to the very, very end. Congrats again to the Dominican Republic and Serbia. I mean, Dominican in particular, just an amazing performance. And I'm curious to see how they attack next summer, because they have no pressure as far as world rankings go anymore. They can do whatever they want in next year's VNL. Won't matter. It's just all about Dominican Republic.
Oh, Dominican. Yeah. Okay,
it's all about for the Dominican Republic. Like, what can they do in VNL? Like, use it however you want to get prepared for Paris.
Oh man, that's just such a bonus, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh,
no more pressure.
Any one of our big players? Is anyone feeling out? Anyone feeling down? Anyone feeling injured? Okay, yeah, just take VNL off.
Seriously, take the whole tournament off. Send a B
matter.
team the whole time. Like whatever you want to do. It's amazing that the position they've put themselves in.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Rob. Now let's jump now to Pool B, the second pool, and of course, can we just call them the undisputed number one team in the world right now?
We can.
Because that's what they are. Turkey just looked absolutely fantastic going through this one. They only lost 3 sets the entire tournament. One to Peru, one to Argentina, and one to Japan. Which is
only undefeated team in the entire event in any pool.
Yeah. Not to mention they got a full 3 points from everything.
Yep. 21
right?
points.
21 points. Just absolutely huge. I don't think there's much to say about this team right now. They're the best team in the world. Melissa Vargas is the best player in the world. They have the best coach in the world. They are riding the biggest tsunami in women's volleyball right now. They are on a 24-foot surfboard and they are chilling. You see that little dancing video of them all dancing on the court after they won? Like, this is a team that they're just out there to have some fun, have a good time, bang some balls. Let's go.
That's what I really liked about the way that Turkey approached this entire Olympic qualifier, is that they looked like they felt no pressure. None. No pressure. And they were obviously the favorite in this pool. They should have gone 7-0, 21 points on paper, and they did. They did not fall into the trap of pressure of the schedule of playing Japan and Brazil back to back in Japan. Like, just none of that got to them. They were so calm, collected. They showed that tournament winning experience. I mean, they won VNL, they won Euros, and then they just went 7-0 Olympic qualifiers this summer. They are the best team in the world, and I don't think it's debatable.
No, not at all. Right? There's only a couple of teams right now when they go up against Serbia, they're not actively pooping their pants. Right? That's really the way it is. But I don't think any team in the world thinks that they can match up or have a game plan against Turkey in this moment.
Not an easy team to game plan against, and not an easy coach to try and out coach. No. That's the biggest difference this summer. Huge credit to Daniele Santarelli. However,
they were also in the easiest pool. Sorry,
they were. That is a fair point. They were in the easiest pool by far, and the way that this pool shook out, just like we projected, Everett, it came down to one do or die match: Brazil versus Japan. Congratulations to Brazil. Brazil beats Japan in 5.
These two teams just keep providing bangers.
That was a banger.
They just keep providing bangers. Whenever I see Brazil versus Japan, men or women, realistically, I'm a watch that. I know that's going to be good, and that's exactly what this one was. It was an absolute banger. It kind of gave me World Championship vibes from last year.
Yep.
Especially just the way that Brazil won at the end of the day. But I was pulling for Japan. I wanted Japan to win, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be in this one.
Yeah. So we can revisit our picks later on, Ever. This is where I got you. Neither of us picked.
You got me. Yeah.
Neither of us picked the Dominican Republic. You and I both picked Serbia, China. You and I both picked USA and Poland. But you picked Turkey and Japan. I picked Turkey and Brazil. I was right by the narrowest of margins.
Yeah.
This match was a banger. It was good to see Brazil respond and play a little bit more like the Brazil we were expecting. I did not think they had a very good summer. I didn't really like what I saw from them just on the eye test in VNL. It was great to see Rosa Maria back. I think she provided a little bit more balance and like predictability at the opposite position. Like sometimes like a Lorena or a Kissy will have a good game, but then there will be games where they hit -500 and hit 5 balls to the back wall. Rosa Maria was very consistent. I mean, Gabi, I'm looking at the stat sheet from the Japan match. Look at Gabi's passing numbers. It's an absolute joke. 65% perfect. I mean, come on. It's insane how good she is.
But I think you really need to give a big ups for Bergman.
Yeah,
I thought
Bergman.
Bergman to me was Rosemir was great. Gabi was Gabi. But Bergman, she got targeted 51 times in serve receive.
Yep.
Right. She got more than 50% of the serve receive targets, and she still passed pretty lights out, 51% positive, 39% perfect. Like, Brazil's passing as a team, 55% positive, 42% perfect, way better than Japan's at 51 and 29.
Yep.
Right. And to me, that was all on the back of Julia Bergman she didn't really score that much. They didn't really need her to score. She was 14 for 39, not great in terms of efficiency there, but she was massive in serve receive, and it just released everything else for them. And that was the key. Her performance was the key there. If she doesn't pass that will, Brazil does not win this match.
100%. That is absolutely the key, is Julia Bergman playing well enough to stay on the court all 5 sets. I think that's important, because it seems like Brazil, their leashes on some of their like non-superstar players, well, really like just Gabi, and I guess like Thaisa and Carl in the middle. Carl didn't even start this match. I was confused by that, but sometimes their leashes on some of their other players are pretty short, and that if they'll decide pretty quickly if a certain player is not doing the job on that night, they'll get the yank pretty fast. But Julia Bergman was able to hang in there the entire match long, knew she was going to be the primary serve reception target, and she hung in there very, very well. I was impressed. And yeah, reception, like you said, that was like the only statistical difference in this match. The two teams' attacking numbers were almost identical. Their blocking numbers were almost identical, which is kind of crazy. But the difference for Japan in a perfect pass versus a positive pass is huge for how their offense runs. Huge. If Brazil can get forehands or even like 1.5 blockers up in front of Japan, instead of having to try and chase that speed from a perfect pass position all the time, that makes all the difference in the world. We know that Japan's not going to out physically destroy people in out of system situations ever. They're just going to kind of hit smart shots and continue balls. But Brazil being able to pressure them from the service line just enough was the difference to me.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it too, like Brazil's serving was very conservative. 4 aces, only 7 errors compared to Japan's 8 to 12. But I didn't think Brazil was serving that tough.
No.
But they weren't tearing the leather or the synthetic or whatever you want to call it off the ball, but they were definitely going for it. Japan just very even with their offense, right? You have 5 of your hitters, all 5 of your offensive players there in double digits for scoring. That's huge. But who was setting for this? Oh yeah, it was still Seki. Never mind.
Yeah, it was Seki for the most part. I mean, they brought in Matsui really briefly. I'm not totally sure why.
Yeah, Matsui started the 3rd there. So yeah, ultimately tough break for Japan. They, due to loss to they're dropped down. I think they're below the Dominican Republic at this point.
In world ranking,
in world rankings,
they are, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you can basically delete Poland and Dominican from the rankings equation now.
Yeah,
now that they've both qualified.
Yeah, basically. So I still expect them to qualify, but a tough result there for Japan with the 2 losses to those top 2 teams.
Yeah, at home. I mean, we all knew it was going to come down to Japan versus Brazil. This was the most predictable pool, and that I'll be honest, that Japan versus Brazil match was the only match in this pool that I watched. I didn't watch any other volleyball in this entire pool. I didn't watch Turkey once. Didn't need to.
It's a little. I've been so interested to watch Turkey so much over the past few years, and now it's just anticlimactic. You know,
this time it was.
They like VNL was like, "Yo, we got to watch Turkey." Rio Volley was like, "Okay, once we get to the semis, once we get to the finals, that's when things get spicy." Now it's just like, I don't really care. Like, I want to see someone push them. I do want to, Rob, if we're gonna talk about other teams, give a big ups to Puerto Rico.
Yes, and Argentina.
Norseca represent. Argentina, you're losing down there. Belgium, Bulgaria, Peru, but Puerto Rico, let's go. Norseca represent. Honestly, I think that this was, other than Mexico, this was a fantastic representation for Norseca volleyball. Both the Dominican and Canada, I think, both punched above their weights and did fantastic. Puerto Rico did the same by getting 4 solid wins, winning over. Like, if you had told me that the Puerto Rican team that I saw in Quebec City was going to win 4 games at this Olympic qualifier just a few weeks ago, I would have laughed in your face. It would have been a straight up clown show. But big ups to Stephanie Abercrombie and the rest of that Puerto Rican team to get the job done.
Good for them. I have absolutely no thoughts on the rest of this pool.
No, me neither.
Congratulations to Brazil. Last thought: Ana Cristina will be back next summer. Don't forget, Brazil has done pretty much all of this summer without one of their most important players, and I assume they'll get Macris back next summer as well. So, Brazil.
Does Brazil look better without Macris?
That is a good question, and that's a
That's a question for another time.
Question for another time. Question for another time. So that's it for Pool B. Congratulations to Turkey and Brazil. Everett, we didn't blow it.
You didn't blow it.
The United States.
You did good, kid. You didn't blow it.
The reigning Olympic champions, the United States, are going back to the Olympics. The USA technically did finish first in Group C. I mean, it was basically a tie. The US, I mean, when we lost that first set to Germany yesterday in a do or die match, I was starting in my head to start crafting a rant. And yes. I'm very happy that I was able to put that rant in my, metaphorical trash can in my brain and empty that out, because I don't have anything to rant about this USA team. This was a good tournament. This is a good tournament for the USA. I'm happy with the level that we displayed. I'm happy with the volleyball. Losing to Poland in Poland is okay with me.
Okay, that we're deeming that okay.
I'm okay with that, especially it's in the middle of 3 matches in a row. We beat Italy and we beat Germany on either side in like matches that we really needed to win, especially the Italy game. We needed to win that match, and I thought we actually played really well. Catherine Plummer off the bench was amazing in a key moment where we needed her badly. So that was nice to see. And we will obviously talk about Poland in a minute, but to beat Germany, we drop a set to Germany and then respond the rest of the match by absolutely dismantling them. Yeah. I mean, that third set was 25-9.
That's
come
gross.
on.
That's absolute grossness. So I mean, I'm still not, like, my uncertainty about this American women's team is just furthered by this Olympic qualifying term. Losing sets to Slovenia, Korea is all right, but like even like the Italy game, they should be taking care of that Italian team. Right, this is not the top Italian team. There's so much turmoil there. They just need to go in and take care of it. Same thing with Germany. I mean, I expect Germany to like losing a set to Germany is fine, but just losing sets to random teams and then losing to Poland too. This is not the dominant USA team that I was kind of expecting to see at the beginning of this summer.
Well, sure, at the beginning of the summer, but look at what has happened to the US this summer. I think we've got to lower our standards on this team a little bit. This is not an Olympic gold medal team that we've been seeing this summer. It is not.
No, not right this moment. Do you think though that this team has the potential to be an Olympic gold medal team? Are they still within that race? Because right now, the way it looks like to me is that Turkey is running away with it, and their 2 biggest contenders in Italy and USA have a lot of inner turmoil, both from different reasons.
Right now, what do I think that the U.S. has a legitimate chance to win Olympic gold? No, I don't.
On the podium?
On the podium, yes, absolutely. Okay. I absolutely think that we belong and should be considered to be a podium team. We will get Jordan Poulter back next summer. I think that one thing in watching all these American women's matches this week, the thing that I kept coming back to is how badly we miss Jordan Poulter. I really, really miss her. I thought Carlini played okay. Her set distribution was okay, but there were some balls that she was locating that really were head scratchers to me. I did not like some of her location. Balls that were way too far off the net on the wings was the common miss, and just not setting the ball to the middle nearly enough, not even close to enough, especially when, I mean, Jordan Thompson is a good player. She is not in the echelon of a Boskovic, Vargas, Hawk, Agoni. She's not.
You also don't need to be giving her 14 sets in the first set.
You don't. It's not like, we are not built the same way as Turkey, Italy, Serbia. That is like, we won Olympic gold by being the most balanced team of all time. And playing to a play style that is not even close to balanced is not a recipe for success for this particular American women's team. Fortunately for us, Annie Drews came off the bench against Germany and was unbelievable. Unbelievable. 26 for 46 like that. And that's great. Can we rely on her to do that every time? Annie, who I love, Purdue girl. No, it's not going to happen every time. That's an amazing performance. You're not going to get that every time.
But do you
be
think
more balanced? Be the balanced team that you were in the Olympics 3 years ago. Set the middle.
But can they be passing in this one? 12% perfect,
Not good at all.
29% positive. That's garbage.
Terrible.
That's worse than men's numbers. That's awful. So
Yeah,
you can't run the middle when you're only passing 12% perfect, right? And ultimately, like there's a big issue on this team that the left sides cannot terminate. They can't terminate the ball, right? The left sides can't pass and they can't terminate. This is, once again, we're seeing the shortcomings of NCAA volleyball and the subsystem really coming back to bite USA in the butt. Now, Rob, you know how
I said this.
You know how I feel about this. I think we should just go with the American system full out. Let's add the subs. More. Let's make it more specialized. Woo, let's go. I think that would make it. But that's a conversation for another day. But you're absolutely seeing how, because let's be honest, in the NCAA, you have your defensive outsides and your offensive outsides. And you have very few who are 6 rotation players who have the ability to play internationally. And that's kind of what we're seeing. Larson hasn't had the impact that we would want on this team. And then really no one is like, I don't know who, I think Jordan Larson needs to be out there because of her experience and her leadership and what she brings to this team, just in terms of everything else. But I don't know who you put in beside her. I think it's Kelsey Robinson, but when you have the two of them, then you don't really have that much of an offensive outlet out there either.
They're the same player. Functionally they're the same player. Yes. And if they're not passing the ball well enough, then they're not providing any value other than Larson's leadership. So, like, I agree. I think if she's healthy and good enough to go, if she wants to do another Olympic cycle, which apparently she does, then yeah, she needs to have a prominent role. But if you're not passing the ball well at that outside position, then bring Catherine Plummer in there. She probably won't pass that much worse. She'll get targeted more, but at least she can bang some balls out of system. Same thing with Ali Franti. Like, let her rip some balls. Like, I do think that Franti is more useful when you start her versus when you bring her in off the bench. I think the play with her is to start her, see how it goes, and then maybe pull her after a set and a half. But another point in the chat that I agree with is that Karch's leashes for players are too long. Karch's leashes for players are too long. And I also think that if he brought 5 outside hitters to this tournament, why didn't we see more of them as far as starting lineups went? We started Robinson and Larson every single one of the 7 matches. Those 2 players are not young. You were not putting them in a position to play consistently and produce scoring output 7 matches in, 7 matches out. There are lots of things about this that I don't like for the U.S., but at the end of the day, we did still qualify and we did still win the group. So
technically, yeah,
are like, sure, my standards are high, my expectations are high. We did win Olympic gold 2 years ago. This is not the same team as that. It's just not. And there are certainly questions to answer going into next summer. We'll get Jordan Poulter back. Micah Hancock didn't play this tournament. She was out with a concussion. I think she might have helped a little bit. Obviously, the outside hitter is a huge question mark, but we still won the group. We still qualified. We only lost to Poland in Poland. I'm okay with that. I'm not thrilled with the level on the eye test. I'm okay with this. I have nothing really to rant about. I'm happy enough with the way that we've responded after a summer that has otherwise not been very good. No. VNL and Norsikas were failures. This was not. We won our group. We qualified. We're going back to the Olympics where we belong. And now Karch has next summer's VNL to engineer it however he wants, to go all mad scientist on it and try and peak at the Olympics again. And I'm curious to see how he does it. But like, at least we ended off the summer on a good note, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what happens with this team, because I do think that if there's one person who doesn't necessarily give a shit about anything that we have to say, it's probably Karch.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just like he's like, if anyone told us who if anyone showed him any of our clips talking about this, he would be like, these guys are stooges. They don't know what the F they're talking about. I'm Karch Karai, and for good reason. Especially like, when you look at this team too, leading up to 2021, like, this is not a team that was dominant leading up to winning Tokyo, right? Oh, actually, I guess they did win 3 Nations
They
League
were
in a row.
really good. They were really good.
They did win 3 Nations Leagues in a row. So you're right. They won 18, 19, and 21. But like, I mean, yeah, like 5th place at the World Championships in 2018. That's all right. But I'm just saying that this is a team that I think, especially with the way Karch builds this, it's very much you're focused on that final game. Right, you're trying to peak at that right time, and everything you're doing is just building up for them. So I'm interested to see how this team comes back with a vengeance next year. What kind of roster decisions are going to be made? Like, is Poulter going to be ready in time? Is she playing professionally is she playing professionally this year?
I sure hope so, because I mean, she tore her ACL in like November of last year.
Yeah,
so it's been about 10 months since then. I would be expecting her to play most of this pro season and be ready to go.
And then I think the other big question mark has to be Karabayama.
Yep.
Is she a part of this roster or not? Because you could make an argument that she might be the best American left side out there.
She started and won a Champions League final.
Yeah, and she's going
Monza,
arguably one of the best teams right now. So
I mean, they could easily be the best team in Europe this year. We'll talk about club later on, but like, yeah, I don't know about that. We talked about it last week when you brought up her name to Karch when you talked to him at Norsika's, and he
dodged that. Oh, that was a Neo level dodge. Also, Rob, Jordan Poulter not anywhere right now. She has no contracts right now according to Volleybox.
Okay, maybe coming back in like January, like some players will do. I mean, that's fine. I'm not worried about her. I think she'll come back and take the starting setter spot where she belongs. I think that's enough talk about the USA. We got to talk about the other team that qualified in this pool. For the first time since 2008, there's been a lot of close calls, a lot of disappointments.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah. A lot of close calls, a lot of disappointment, but finally Poland. The Polish women are back in the Olympics in front of just an incredible crowd in Łódź. Just awesome. So good.
The gold standard.
The gold standard.
The gold standard.
And sure enough, they get a bid. They beat Italy in 4 to get the bid on day 7. Down a set, they came back and won the second in overtime and never looked back. And I'm so happy for this Polish team. They have had an incredible summer. Such a good summer.
Their run really goes back to last year's World Championships for me.
Right.
Like when they really started to go. I think that this is just another reason why Meglin Estesiak needs her own team where she's the number one option and gets set a lot of balls because she proves that she's world class. Like if Stesiak was playing on a legitimate club team, she might be in the conversation with Agonu, with Hawk, with Boskovic, with Vargas.
I don't think so, but I'd put her at 5th. I'd put her at 5th right now. I think she's
I would still put her at 5th, but I think she would be within that conversation, right? Right now, because she doesn't produce in the club. Like it's hard to make that argument.
Well, that's another conversation because she is going to Fenerbahce this year, where she's going to play the first half of the year and then sit the bench behind.
But what was again like? Why?
I kind of think
whoever her agent is an idiot.
No, I kind of think it's okay for her because she is a big, slow player. I think she is affected a lot by wear and tear. I think if she took 50 swings a game, every game, all of club season, she wouldn't be as good for the Polish national team. And she was so good for the Polish national team this tournament against Italy, 23 for 41, 44% efficiency. Amazing. The whole summer. Yeah. And the funny thing about Poland is that Everett, on last week's show, Poland was in the middle of their match versus Thailand. And the reason we did a show when we did, because we thought that there was no way that match would be interesting. Sure enough, we ended last week's show on Wednesday. I watched the rest of it, and Poland blew it. They blew it. They lost to a Thai team that they had no business losing to. Then they had a day off, and Poland responded by beating Germany, the United States, and Italy in a row. And that is the response that I like to see out of a team that's going to the Olympics, because any team that goes to the Olympics, you're going to get pushed. You're going to lose games. That is the best of the best. You will have your back against the wall at some point. And how do you respond to that? Poland did. They responded in the biggest possible way. I was very impressed by that. Like, beating Germany, Italy, and the US in 3 days is a big sequence. That is
Yeah, I mean,
huge.
and especially that win against Germany. Like that
Yeah.
win against Germany was big, a big 5-setter. I mean, Germany came back to force that fifth set, and still Poland pushed on. When you look at the stats, too, Stysiak was pretty good with 22, but Martina, how do you say this one?
What?
Czernianska?
Chernianska, yeah, she's
Czernianska.
19. She is her coming back because she missed Eurovolley. Her coming back for Olympic qualifiers was massive, and all of our Polish fans in the Discord were agreeing the same thing. Like, she's only 19. She's going to be a superstar. She's so good. The perfect balance of offense and reception. Exactly what Poland needed.
Yeah, her reception numbers this tournament were actually pretty good.
Very good. Yeah,
she wasn't featured that much. But that's the thing is if Poland has a player like her coming off the bench, Poland might be a dark horse. They really, really might be. Like, this is a very good team. This is a very good team. And other than that one loss against China, where I'm assuming it's just one of those things where you just kind of fall asleep.
What, the Thailand game?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I said China, but yeah, and like Thailand is, when Thailand's playing, Thailand is a tough team to play against.
So they shouldn't be, though, because losing to Thailand, to me, it tells me that you did not do your homework to prepare for them, and you were unable to adjust mid-game to the wacky little, like, old school Japanese high school offense that they run. Like, you cannot be consistently putting up zero blockers against the X play from the 1980s. Like, you can't do that. So like that was the part about that Polish loss that I didn't like, is because it displayed low volleyball IQ to me. But their comeback to beat those three good teams, the rest of their pool play, showed a heck of a lot of guts to me, and I really, really liked that. Shout out to Lethal Barbie, of course. She was on the thumbnail for the show. We love Agnieszka Korneluk. She's been one of my favorite players to watch this entire summer. She was brilliant the whole week. And the other person I really want to give a lot of credit to is Stefano Lavarini. He has made a gigantic difference with the way that this team has played, with the way that they've responded to things, with the way that they've been able to prepare, and just the biggest positive change from Nawrocki, who was coaching them before. He's gotten them back to the Olympics, and I'm really happy for this Polish team.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think it's important for Polish women's volleyball to be as good as possible, right?
For sure.
It's always been a bit of a mismatch in terms of, like, when you look at the Plus Liga versus the Torren Liga, where you look at the men's team versus the women's team, and just in terms of the success that they have and the level at which they play. So the fact that you're seeing both of these teams coming into their prime right now, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, I think the 2020s are for Polish volleyball. Like they really are for Polish volleyball, because right now we're seeing the best results that they've ever seen before.
Oh yeah, men's without question, and Poland, the Polish women are really, really improving rapidly. And I agree. I mean, they're going to get Susanna Górecka back at the Olympics as well. They're going to have 4 awesome outside hitters. Got the best setter in the world. They've got a top 5 opposite. They've got some outstanding middle blockers.
Young guns coming through. Sure. Like,
shouts to Maria Stenzel as well, libero, who I really like. They've got a good coach, certainly a good enough coach. I like Poland a lot. I'm very happy for them. That leaves us, Everett, with Italy.
Bring out your torches and pitchforks.
Let's go. So even the Italian fans were rooting for this result. Tommy and Monty in the Discord, are 2 like OG Italian homies, were rooting against their own national team in this Olympic qualifier tournament because they want Mazzanti out. And I think that Italy missing out on qualifying this particular time is honestly going to be good for them in the long run. I mean, just look at the people that they brought. No Egonu, no Kirikella, no Bossetti, no Oro, no De Gennaro. Like, those should be 5 starters that you either chose not to bring, or you alienated them, or both. And when that's the type of program that you're running, you're going to fail, and you deserve to fail in a tournament like this. My only hope is that the federation sees it soon enough to fire him and bring in somebody else for 2024, because Italy will qualify on ranking for the Olympics. They will. And if they roll out this same group that we just saw in Poland this week, if they roll out this same group to the Olympics, they might not even make it out of pools.
No, I don't think they will if they roll out this group. Mostly because, like, I think it's tough, no matter how good of a player you are, but I think it's tough when you go into a situation and you know that there's maybe some turmoil about why you're there or how you're there. You know that you're missing some of your best players. Like, I think that's a tough situation to play in. But even them, like, right now, like this morning, basically, the FIPAV, which is the Italian Federation, has put out, like, we will analyze in detail what happened, and we will work with the aim of quickly finding the best solution to overcome this complicated moment. Like, they obviously know this.
Understatement of the century right there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is this complicated moment that I don't know if I've ever seen something like this in volleyball, period, where there's so much internal conflict, and the obvious solution is to just get rid of the coach.
I think it's also frustrating too when you're Italy and you didn't win you've won a Euro recently. You have one of the best players in the world. You're doing all these things, and then you look at all the other best teams in the world, and they all have Italian coaches.
All of them
have Italian coaches. Like, it's
Santarelli, Lavarini, like all of them.
Literally all of the best teams in the world. Even when you look at Team Canada, there's two Canadian coaches and 2 Italian coaches on that roster, on that coaching staff, right? Like, they are, and I'm pretty sure like the Netherlands has an Italian coach as well. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, there is so much quality within the Italian coaching system. Why is there so much turmoil with this team, right? Like, it's terrible that this team is losing to other Italian coaches, and you know that Lavarini and Santarelli and Guidetti are just sitting there being like, well, we're just going to do this, we're just going to do this, we're just going to do this because Masanti's a stooge.
It's so easy for them to coach circles around their home country. It's honestly kind of hilarious. I'm sure it's very satisfying for Lavarini to beat that team, to beat Italy yesterday in 4, and just have Italy just not play all that well. I mean, Ekaterina Antropova had a good tournament. I thought that she played perfectly fine in a tough situation. But I mean, Miriam still a negative efficiency. What is she still doing out there? Like, what are we talking about here?
I was scrolling through Twitter, or formerly the app formerly known as Twitter, now whatever. I don't know what Elon's doing over there. But I was seeing Italian fans saying that they thought Antropova was better than Agonu, basically because she doesn't make as many errors. Hey, whoa, don't shoot the message. I'm just giving you the news here, okay? Don't be rolling your eyes at me.
Rolling my eyes at that take.
Yeah, but she just didn't have. I think it's tough to say it. Like, I think Antropova's numbers are there, but at the same time, she doesn't have the support from the rest of the team. And like, we know Miriam Silla is like best friends with Paolo Agonu, right? We know that she's going to want to play for her best friend and maybe not for some, younger girl that she doesn't even know as well, right? There is so much just turmoil on this Italian team. I think they're just missing, they're missing the forest through the trees, truly.
Yeah, it's tough to watch, but I think that as long as the Federation figures it out this offseason and makes the required change, then I think that this missing the Olympic qualification bid here is going to be a good thing for them in the long run. They need to not compound the problem. If they keep Mazzanti this entire offseason and let him do more damage at Vionel next year, it's going to compound the problem.
Allegedly, according to the chat, Mazzanti is really good friends with the president of FIPAV.
Ugh.
Right. Also, what's up with the challenge button in the poll at Italy match?
So something happened there where it was Lavarini's assistant ran out of nowhere to call it, to press a button, call it challenge because it didn't work the first time. I couldn't really figure out what had happened there. Yeah. So I think it was a very late block touch challenge in the second set. I think it might have been the one that ended up winning the set for them in overtime, 26-24. That I don't think Lavarini was going to challenge it, and the one of the Polish assistant coaches is like, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm taking this into my own hands. I'm going to go press the button to challenge a block touch there, and they got it and won the set. I think that's what happened, but somebody in the chat can confirm that for us. It was an interesting moment. I didn't really understand it when I saw it live.
Okay, fair enough. I was just seeing people talk about the chat, and I didn't watch that full game, so it must have happened when you said it was at the end of the second or end of the third.
I think it was the end of the second because Poland won that set on a challenge 26-24. So I'm pretty sure it was that one.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, right now I just think that this Italian team on paper, when you look at the roster that they have, should be one of the best teams in the world. And the fact that they didn't win anything this summer and didn't qualify the Olympics, I think who failed this summer more? USA or Italy?
Obviously, Italy. Obviously. I mean, Italy also, they failed to medal at VNL, so did the U.S. They failed to medal at Eurovolley. U.S. took silver. I would call that a failure of a similar caliber. But the USA beat Italy head-to-head and qualified for the Olympics, and Italy didn't. So I think that's it. So that's Pool C. I have nothing else to talk about the rest of the teams, honestly. I mean, tough break for Germany without Hannah Orthman. They were never going to really be that much of a factor in this pool. It was good to see Thailand playing a little bit better. They got that win over Poland. But Everett, I think we need to wrap up the whole women's Olympic, just the whole women's summer by looking at the latest rankings, because the rankings are now set for the next 6 months. This is how they stand up until the start of next summer's VNL. And to make it super clear on how the Olympic qualifications are going to go, there are now 7 bids that have been given out. France, the hosts, Serbia, Dominican Republic, the United States, Poland, Turkey, and Brazil. There are 5 spots left. Those 5 spots will go to the highest ranked teams in the world ranking after the preliminary round of the 2024 VNL. So there's 5 spots left. One of those spots will go to an African team, because you're guaranteed to have one team represented from every continent. Right now, Africa and Asia are the only 2 teams that don't have a team, or continents that don't have a team qualified yet. So whoever the highest ranked team in Africa is will get a bid. Thanks for participating, whatever. Also, the higher ranked team between China and Japan will get a bid as the team from Asia. It's a great chance both of them will qualify. But here's the rankings as of right now. You've got Italy in 5th, all the way down to Germany in 12th. And Dominican Republic and Poland are already qualified, so you can basically remove them from this picture. Really, there are 4 spots left. If you take out the African spot,
there's really only 2, because Italy and China won't drop that many points, right?
Probably not.
Right? Like even when you put Italy's B team out there, they were able to qualify for the VNL finals. So I don't them seeing they would have to have a losing record through VNL and lose to a lot of bad teams to drop beneath the level of Canada and the Netherlands.
Right.
So realistically, I think it's between Japan, Netherlands, and Canada right now to see how it's really being done.
I agree. I think that Germany has too much ground to make up. I don't think that one's possible. They're 40 points behind Canada. I agree that I think Italy and China are in. I think that even Japan, they're
probably in
18 points up on the Netherlands. They would have to get passed by both the Netherlands and Canada in order to miss out. I don't see that happening, but that's the situation. There's really 4 spots left, because you're going to have some waste of space African team that gets a bid. Italy, China, Japan, Netherlands, and Canada. Those 5 teams are fighting for 4 spots. And this is the way that the ranking points sit right now, heading into next summer. By the way, China, with that big win over Serbia, it didn't matter for the pool. It got China, I think, 9 points. That is pretty significant. So they're all the way up to 6. They could have dropped below Poland had they not won that match. So
bro,
matters.
I need a solid breakdown of how these pools, or how these the points per a win does, because it just doesn't make sense to me.
They break down the formula on the website. Go research it.
Yeah. In terms of like wins and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a formula. It's like your world ranking, your opponent's world ranking, then the set score of the match.
Because it is if we look at China, for example, they got a plus 844 for beating for beating Serbia.
Serbia actually dropped from 2nd to 4th. Not that it's going to matter for them. You're not even showing the top 4 teams here. Turkey, I don't even remember the order. I think Turkey, Brazil,
USA, Brazil, Serbia.
Is that
But,
the
like,
order? Okay.
that's such garbage that Serbia drops down. Oh, I guess they did lose. They got -10 for losing to Dominican and -8.4 for losing
Right.
to China.
But now it doesn't matter. Like for those teams that are already qualified to the Olympics, they don't care about the world ranking until 2025. So that's why like you can take Dominican and Poland kind of out of this picture. It's 5 teams fighting for 4 spots right now, and I don't think Germany really has a chance. It's probably going to come down to Canada versus the Netherlands, honestly.
Well,
And-
that's what it is.
Right.
That's truly what it is. So that's why that win against the Netherlands was so huge for
It was
Canada.
big. Yeah.
So, and it's really just going to come down to VNL. Big shout outs to the biggest losers of the tournament. Peru dropped 7 ranking points to 38. Mexico dropped 5 to 28, and Korea dropped 4 down to 40th in the world, Rob. And there's still a core team in the VNL.
Look at this. Korea 0-7. 0-7. Lost to Colombia, Slovenia, and Thailand. Get real.
Their wins this summer, Rob. They have 4 wins this summer. Their 4 wins this summer are against Indonesia, Australia, Uzbekistan, and Chinese Taipei.
God, it's embarrassing.
They...
We're not talking about Korea. We're talking about teams. We're talking about real teams right now.
Bro,
So,
they won 5 games in the past 2 years.
We're talking about real teams right now, Everett. I can't even bring myself to talk about it. So that is it for international women's volleyball for the summer. That's it. It's over. It's club season now. It's club season now for the women. These world rankings are locked up until the start of next national team season, and there are plenty of storylines. Congratulations to all the teams that got bids. It was really a fun Olympic qualification tournament. Those last 3 days were awesome.
It was and wasn't. I think I understand why they did it this way, Rob. Because I think we should take this time here to talk about it before we transition into the men's one. They did it this way because you have to give every team from like the continental zone like a chance, right? Because there's no continental qualifier, so you need to be able to give those other teams a shot. Next time around, once everything is different, it'll be way different. But yeah, there's just too many teams. There's just too many teams for this tournament.
And too many really bad matches. Like those first 4 days featured a lot of bad matches, a lot of 3-dongs, and it didn't really get good until the good teams started to play each other there at the end.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it needs to be adjusted a little bit, let's say.
For sure. And we already know that next Olympic cycle, the process will be completely night and day different because God forbid we stick with the same system for 2 consecutive quads. So this is a one-time thing. Like this format really is a one-time thing. Like this particular tournament will never happen this particular way again. We already know that it's going kind of back to the continental system next quad. So
I also think that the shortened quad into the triad.
Oh, for sure.
Has an effect on all of it.
Yeah, COVID is still very much affecting the international volleyball calendar. Not for much longer, but yeah, it definitely had something to do with this. All right, before we talk about the men's Everett, because it starts this weekend, got 2 very important things to talk about. The first is that volleyball.store. We're both rocking it.
I'm double rocking it actually.
Oh yeah, you got it under the hoodie too.
I've got the heathered gray on. You've got the navy.
One.
Yeah, the navy. Nice. I threw that shirt on this morning, and then it was a little chilly in my house. I was like, oh, let's throw the nice sweater on. But if you want to look good like Rob and I, you're gonna head over to that volleyball.store. Use the code SPICE. You get 15% off your entire purchase. Of course, you get the 9x9 gear, the 9x9 squared gear, a bunch of spicy volleyball stuff. So head on over, pick something out, and look good like us.
That's right. Also in the Volleyball Source universe. Let's see. Good viewership on this episode so far. We appreciate you guys for watching. Still got a lot of momentum from our Norsika broadcast, but we want more thumbs up. The video.
Like the video. Doesn't cost anything.
Need more of those. And if you want to join the Volleyball Source Discord, the link is in the description. That is the best online volleyball chat community in the world, especially during Olympic qualifier season. It's a great place to hang out and talk ball with people from all over the planet. So get in there. Last but not least, in the Volleyball Source universe.
Yeah. Oh, last but not least, of course, Mr. Stankovic.
It's time to talk about.
How are you doing today, Mr. Stankovic?
Time to talk about Daddy Stankovic, my hero. So somewhere in this episode, as we highlight our favorite segment, Where's Daddy? Somewhere in this episode, Daddy Stankovic has been hidden. And when you find Daddy Stankovic, you comment the timestamp of where he is in the main YouTube comment section after the video is over. And if you do that, you get a shout out on next week's show. So last week we were talking about Eurovolley, and we were talking about Slovenia and how they won bronze over France. If you see one of the coaches there on the left under Georgi Kretsu, like over that the last player for this on the left, the guy in the blue polo, there's Daddy Stankovic getting in on the celebration. So good to see Daddy Stankovic out there celebrating some Eurovolley hardware. That's where he was. Our friends John Lau and Kenny McGraw found him right away. So those two guys commented.
I don't think Kenny's allowed to play anymore. He wins too much.
Kenny wins a lot at Where's Daddy. That's good. He's always got his eye out for Daddy Stankovic.
That's true. I see a few of you stooges in the chat who sometimes post when Daddy comes up. Don't do that.
No, you don't. You don't want to post them in the chat. You want to post them in the main YouTube comments section, like after the live stream is over. That's where you get the credit for finding Daddy Stankovic. So
I almost think that we should up it and make him really small. Like instead of him putting on someone's head, let's like hide him somewhere.
So I've done that a time or two, and I'm trying to get more and more creative with my not very good photoshopping abilities, but I think the one I did this week was a pretty good one. So we'll see how people receive it and how people find them. So I'm not going to give you any more clues than that, but you got to find Daddy Stankovic, comment where he is, and you get a shout out in next week's show.
Do it.
All right, Everett, it's time. There's one more international event this summer. After all this international volleyball we've had this whole summer, it comes down to one more thing. It is the men's Olympic qualifiers, the exact same format as the women. It starts this Saturday, September 30th. Then it's the same format: 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, and then 3 days on at the very end, where we'll likely get the spiciest matches. So as you can see here on the screen, we'll read it down for our audio listeners. Pool A is in Brazil. It features Brazil, Italy, Iran, Cuba, Ukraine, Germany, the Czech Republic, and Qatar. Pool B is in Japan. It features Japan, the United States, Slovenia, Serbia, Turkey, Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland. Pool C is in China. It features China, Poland, Argentina, the Netherlands, Canada, Mexico, Belgium, and Bulgaria. There, in my opinion, Everett, there are more teams in just across the board in all these pools, a lot more teams with a chance to qualify than there were on the women's side.
Yes, for sure. When you look at every single pool, there's a little bit more intrigue.
Yeah,
I think than on the women's side. I think that maybe on the women's side you have a higher level of like really high level teams, and then it drops off significantly after that. Every pool, there's a few considerations that need to be made when you're looking at the two favorites to move on. Let's start with Pool A, Rob.
Yep.
I think in Pool A you have one obvious team to move on.
That's Italy, and
then you have a jumble. You have a jumble, and normally you would say Brazil would be one of those obvious teams, but Brazil is. I mean, this is a team really in a fall. When you look at the result at one of their worst ever, losing the South American Championships for the first time ever, and then you look at the roster and you go, who's going to pick this team up? Who's going to elevate them to the level of which Brazil expects? And Rob, I just don't know it.
Nope.
Like you need to ride Alan Souza hard. They do have Leal on the roster.
Okay,
that is their one. Well, on the extended roster, because we don't have the 14-man yet.
No, we do not.
That is, Leal has to have the best tournament of his life. He really does.
Similar to last year's World Championship, where Brazil took bronze basically completely on Leal's shoulders. I agree. I think he's the key. Brazil playing at home, that will help. But I agree with you that the Brazilian, like this golden era, is getting more and more fragile every day.
Oh, it's no. Well, the golden era ended a long time ago.
They're trying desperately to hold on to 2016, and that is just not really possible anymore.
I think they're just trying desperately to stay at within the top teams, right? Like golden era. Let's not look about winning anything. Let's just talk about staying relevant and qualify.
Ooh, somebody in the chat says Leal's injured and he is not going to be on the 14.
I really don't see
that.
We love Honorato. We love Honorato, right?
We do.
Rob?
I like Honorato a lot.
He doesn't start on Canada. He's a solid third guy off the bench. But
Man, seriously, if they don't have Leal, that Brazil is in seriously big trouble.
Even Arturo Bukmiuk, the young Canadian guy who's now playing for, I mean, he's Brazilian. Let's be honest, but he lived in Canada for quite a while. Like, he's injured too. Like, he won't be available either. So what do they have on the left side?
Ouch.
Like Honorato and Lucarelli. Like, that's like, you've got 2 P2s out there for Brazil.
Ouch. Yeah, so Brazil is really, really fragile. I'm really curious to see who their 14-man roster is when it comes out, but I don't like their chances. What's their world ranking at right now? It can't be that bad. It's okay. They're 4th. Yeah, so they're going to qualify one way or another. They're doing just fine in the world ranking. But like this tournament, I'm just not high on Brazil. However, I did say the exact same thing last year at the World Championship, and they got bronze. This was with Wallace and Leal, who they're not going to have this time. But I'm actually going to pick Brazil to get a bid here.
I'm not.
And I know you're not. The reason why I'm going to pick Brazil to get a bid here, next to Italy, obviously, who we don't even need to talk about. Like it's so obvious that Italy will probably go undefeated in this pool.
Yes.
I think that there's the other teams in this pool are going to beat each other up, and Brazil is just going to kind of survive. I think that I think Italy's going to go 7-0, and I don't think there's going to be a 6-1 team. I think there's going to be a couple 5-2, a couple 4-3,
okay.
and I think that I think I know who you're going to pick. I think that Cuba has a really good chance, but they're gonna pull a Dominican Republic and lose to a bad team. They're gonna lose to Germany, or they're gonna lose to the Czech Republic, and I also think that Ukraine is pretty good. I have no idea, and Iran is a total wild card. I think that Cuba will lose a couple random games. They could easily beat Brazil like they did earlier this summer. I think that Brazil will not lose to teams so much worse than them, that I think because of the chaos elsewhere in this pool, I have a feeling that Brazil is going to make it through somehow.
I fully agree with you that I think a bunch of teams are going to beat themselves up in this tournament. Like, even when you look at Qatar, which is technically the worst team in this pool, Qatar is an up and coming team. Okay, Rob, they're starting to win. They just naturalized players. Oh, you're Brazilian, you can't make the national team. Come over here. We'll give you citizenship. You know, like, and you don't even, like, because they haven't played for, like, I think there's like different rules, but we've seen a consistent version of Cuba this summer, like specifically more recently at the NORCECA Championships. Sorry, I shouldn't say this summer, but specifically more recently at the NORCECA Championships
under a new head coach.
Very
important.
On this, when you look at this roster, this is one of the more skilled rosters out there. I think, Cuba beat Brazil earlier this year in Ottawa. We watched it. We witnessed it. That was the one good game that they played all of VNL.
It was.
I think Cuba was unlucky to come away with bronze at the NORCECA Championships. I think they played 2 very good games that they ended up losing to Canada. And,
I agree.
And to the USA and Canada. I just have it like trust me, it kills me, and I'm just waiting for Ronnie to pop up in the chat right now. He was here earlier, but he's not here. I just think that they have the firepower to really go through it, and as his team is starting to mature, they could really do some damage. And because I think Brazil's going to get beat up by other teams. I think Brazil loses to Italy and then 2 more teams. Like, I think
2 more teams.
I don't think it's out of the question for Brazil to lose to like a Ukraine or a Germany if like either of those teams get hot, or even Iran.
I think Brazil's going to lose to Italy and Cuba, but I think Cuba is going to lose to Italy and 1, maybe even 2 other teams. And I correct in the chat, Robert Lenny Simone is not playing. It's going to be the group that you saw at NORCECA. It's going to be Alonso and Concepcion in the middle.
If Simone was there, then you have to pick them.
100%, and I would. Cuba made some huge steps in the right direction at NORCECA's, and we talked about it a lot on the broadcast and on this show, that their ability to learn how to use the bench and still play good volleyball, and like Cuba to even play the starters, not have that little last bit of explosiveness and still beat teams, like that is good. That's going to do them a lot of favors in this tournament. I still think that Brazil is going to pull some weird voodoo garbage and get out of this pool. I like Cuba, and honestly, I'm rooting for them. I think it would be good for the NORCECA zone if Cuba were to get a bid here. but I am going to go with Italy and Brazil. Past that, like Iran, I know nothing about at this point. They've been too much of a wild card the last 2 summers. I have no
And
idea.
no Milad either.
Right, no Abadapor. I have no idea who's playing for them. Ukraine was a little bit disappointing at Eurovolley, and I think that they're good. I think Ole Plotnitsky is a monster, but you can't be a one-man show in men's volleyball the way that you can in women's.
And not this tournament, no.
No, not this tournament. Germany, no chance. I thought that they were garbage at VNL. Czech Republic and Qatar, thanks for participating. This is a hard pool. It is. I think there is going to be a lot of chaos. I think Ukraine will beat a team or two. I think Iran might come out of nowhere and beat a team or two. But like Italy's going to go 7-0, and I do think that Brazil is going to find a way to take that second spot.
And you know what? Devin just brought it up in the chat. I do kind of want to see Cuba go. Not over my Canada. Right? So that's why I want Cuba to qualify through the winning because they're in different pools here. But I do want to see Cuba go to see one of the best ever play in the Olympics one time.
Robert Landy Simone.
He
deserves it.
He does deserve it. And I think, we saw the Dominican kind of lay down that blueprint of an Orsica team from the Caribbean coming through and upsetting everyone. I think Cuba can do it.
Okay.
I really think they do. You're welcome, Ronnie. Save this, record it, because it's never happening again. This is not happening again, all right? But I think Cuba's gonna make it through.
Okay. Pool B is in Japan. It's got Japan, the US, Slovenia, Serbia, Turkey, Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland. Tunisia, Egypt, Finland, thanks for participating. That's the part about this pool that I, as an American fan, am most excited about, is that we have the easiest 3 bottom teams by far out of any pool. Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland are way worse than any of the bottom 3 teams in the other 2 pools. And for that reason, I think that there's a great chance that the US, the format is the same. Like those 4 teams, the top 4 seeds won't play each other until the last 3 days.
Yes.
They're going to get through all those, the 4 bottom teams the first 4 days. So even Turkey, who is good, or who's better, they're a VNL team now. The U.S. can play the bench against Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland and win 3-0. And I think that's exactly what we will do. The thing is that the schedule then gets difficult because if the U.S., I'm American, obviously, I'm talking from our perspective, we have a very old team. And we're going to try our best to save that old team until the end of the tournament. The problem is, all the matches where we're going to need all those old guys are all back-to-back-to-back. We're going to play Serbia, Slovenia, Japan back-to-back-to-back in 3 days. And I'm not sure if we can survive that with playing all the same guys all 3 days. We're going to need to start Jeschke, DeFalco, and Russell interchangeably. We're going to need to interchange the middles. The one thing I'm worried about is the opposite. Can Matt Anderson play all 3 of those games and be good? That is a lot of volleyball in 3 days for a guy that's age 36. And that's the one thing I'm a little bit concerned about. But I love this draw for the U.S. The bottom of this pool is so easy. And I do think that Turkey is really beatable. And even the middle teams, Slovenia is good. Serbia is declining. And I think that we can beat those 2 teams. And I'm just very excited to see how we match up against Japan. Japan is a team that's been playing. They've had an amazing summer. Medaling at VNL was huge. We didn't play them at all this entire summer. I'm fascinated to see how that's going to go. The U.S. will get a bid in this pool, and I think that Japan will too. I think that it's those top 2 teams right there.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. If I'm the USA, the thing is, Rob, is that when you look at this American team, there's so much depth on this team. I think you need to stop your crusade against Jake Haynes because I think he's answered the bell, and at a few different times.
Well, that's the thing. So Jake Haynes, by the way, the U.S. is already over in Japan. They brought 16 guys. So they brought 3 opposites. They brought Anderson, Jake Haynes, and Kyle Ensing.
And Ensing, okay.
And they brought 3 setters. They brought Christensen, Ma'a, and Tuaninga. And so they're going to have to cut that down to 14. So they're going to have to choose between Haynes and Ensing. I'm not sure who they're going to pick.
I think they brought D'Agostino as well.
They did. They brought D'Agostino instead of McIntosh at second libero. So Jake Haynes or Kyle Ensing can absolutely beat Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland, and they should. I expect Spirat to start those guys against Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland, and whoever that second opposite is can absolutely beat those three teams. I have
Bro,
faith.
they could even probably beat Turkey. Come on, Turkey. What's happened to you guys?
Maybe. I'm still a little bit worried about Turkey because they took us to 5 in the World Championship last year, and I know
but they were
Spirat's
good last year.
They were good last year. They're much worse now. But I have seen enough. I've definitely seen enough from Jake Haynes this summer that I absolutely have faith in him to beat Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland. And I think like for him and Micah Ma'a in terms of being the starting setter for a couple games, maybe D'Agostino, and then Garrett Mwangatutia. Garrett's job is to start those 3 games and then come off the bench and serve the rest of the matches, which he did in Orsican, and he was amazing. Jake Haynes, his job, or the backup opposite, their job is to beat Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland. And I absolutely think that our backup opposite can do that 100%, regardless of who it is. So I'm very confident that we will start this tournament 4-0. Very confident.
Also, too, Rob, let's be honest though. The U.S. is not a right side dominant team anymore.
Not anymore.
Right? Like when you look at
not Clay Stanley,
it's not. But it's not even like Matt Anderson just a few years ago. Right? The majority of the output from this team comes from the left side. You have 3 world-class left sides on this team. And it's also how this is a team, and it's how they run together. Like they have some of the best middles in the world. You go 1 through 4,
4 of them.
You could throw any of them in. It really doesn't matter.
Which they will, and they have, and they will, and that's why I'm so confident in every area except maybe Matt Anderson playing 3 matches in a row against 3 other really good teams. But like I said, I really have a lot of faith in this American team to get a bid in this pool. I just love the way that we've played this summer.
Yeah. Past that, I think Slovenia is a good story, and they're a good team. I don't think they beat Japan. I think Japan has been playing too good this year to get like Japan is a team that really needs to get overpowered. And I don't think Slovenia can necessarily do that to Japan. I think Japan can really get them off their game from the baseline.
Japan, I think, beat Slovenia with kind of a B team in VNL this summer, if I remember right. I agree with you. Japan's a hard matchup. Japan's a very difficult team to beat for anybody, but you've got to be really, really physical and really, really good in serve and pass to beat Japan. I think the U.S. is the team in this pool that matches up the best.
Yeah, Slovenia did get 3-0 by Japan in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. So that's right. Yeah, I forgot about the playoff match.
Yeah.
Of course.
So they didn't play each other in pool play, but they did get 3-0 by Japan in the quarterfinals.
And then Serbia, I don't really see it.
Serbia's just not Serbia anymore.
Anymore.
Let's be honest. They're going through a rebuilding phase. Kujundžić and Pere Pavlic, those guys are really, really good. But this is a rebuilding team right now for sure.
Yeah, Serbia with basically no setter and no libero, I don't really have a lot of faith in. And yeah, Gregor Ropret, the Slovenian starting setter, got hurt in Eurovolley. He's out. I think they're bringing Dejan Vincic out of retirement to be the setter this tournament, and then that's a step back. Ropret's definitely the better of the two.
Oh yeah, 100%
for Slovenia. And so yeah, I've got Japan and the USA in this pool.
Especially with Japan, with Miura and Nishida, the 2 on the right side, you have a little bit of depth there. I'm interested to see who they're going to be able to bring out on the left side past Ishikawa and Ran. But I mean, this is Japan, right? They're one of the best volleyball countries in the world. So
they're playing at home,
and they're playing at home, which they're always fantastic at. Some of the best fans in the world, unlike those Chinese fans that it looked like they were being told. I remember leading up to the 2008 Beijing Olympics, there were stories about how China would bus fans in prior to games and do practice games where the fans were taught how to cheer. So I honestly looked something similar to that. It was a weird vibe for those Chinese games, that's for sure.
Well, we're gonna be getting to watch more volleyball in China. We've got China hosting the pool that Everett's Canadian team is in.
Just kill me now.
So yeah,
more late nights.
It's tough for Canada. Canada did get the easiest host because China is by far the worst team of the 3 teams that are hosting.
Oh yeah,
but you have a very difficult schedule because Canada is a 5 seed. Not that they're the 5th best team. I'd say you're the 4th, maybe 3rd best team, but just the way that it shook out, giving China the 1 seed, you're gonna have to play Poland, Argentina, the Netherlands, and China in your first 4 days, and so very similar to the schedule that the women just had.
Yeah, China kick, whatever,
easy.
That's not the thing.
Easy.
So officially, I'm picking Poland and Canada for this group officially. However, there may be a little on our show notes if Rob, if you're reading
I
that.
saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it.
There may be a little parentheses beside Canada in the sense that I think Argentina's playing some really, really good volleyball right now.
Argentina's amazing.
And if there was one team that Canada didn't want to be playing some really good volleyball right now because we do terribly against them, it's Argentina. So that is going to be really tough here for the Maple Volleys. Now, we did see a rejuvenated Maple Volleys at the NORCECA Championships. I think
They looked awesome.
I think we could both agree with that. We didn't really see Eric Lepke at his best. However, talking to some of the guys, talking to some of the coaching staff, it sounds like he's back. He's good to go, and he's ripping it. So there's that. But this is a tough pool. Like Netherlands, that's a toss-up match. It truly is. I think that's two teams,
and that's who you play first. So
That's,
you've
yeah,
got
that's
Netherlands,
first
then
match.
Argentina, then Poland, then China. And honestly, I think that schedule's kind of good because
we have the 3 games in 3 days against the lesser teams. Absolutely.
You have a day off before you play Poland, and you can kind of react to what had happened.
I think we play the bench against Poland. I think we throw the bench out there against Poland.
That depends. I think if you go 2-0 somehow against Netherlands and Argentina, then you absolutely play the bench against Poland. But the way this pool is going to go, you cannot lose 2 matches. If you lose 2 matches in this pool, you're dead.
Done. Absolutely.
You're dead.
100%.
So if Canada were to lose to Netherlands or Argentina in the first 2 days, you have no choice but to try and upset Poland.
Yeah, which is, if there's one team that's going to go potentially 7-0 in this tournament, it's Poland.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah, and if there's one team that has the depth to go 7-0 in this tournament, it's Poland.
It's obviously Poland. They're incredible at every single position on the roster except second setter, and they're not going to really need very much. No. Well, they could play them against the bad teams and be fine. So. Poland's going to win this pool. I think they're going to go 7-0 as well. And Everett, I don't have the obligation to pick Canada, but I absolutely love the Canadian team. They're my second favorite national team in the world, but I have no choice but to buy into how well Argentina has been playing. I have no choice. That team is so good. I have no
choice right now, Rob. It's how do you argue against that Argentinian team?
And guess what Argentina now has compared to VNL?
Facundo friggin' Conte. Just one of the best players ever to play volleyball in his country.
Incredible. They're bringing 5 outside hitters. Listen to this outside group: Conte, Polonsky, Vicentin, Armoa, who's one of the best young prospects in the world, and Jan Martinez, who comes off the bench, plays backcourt, and plays a great role. They have DeCecco. They have 2 great opposites. They have one of the best middles in the world in Loser, and they have Denani at Libero. Like, come on, like that team is incredible. I'm just excited to. I'm at the point where I just get excited to watch Argentina game.
Argentina, I love watching Argentina play. I love watching Japan play.
Yeah. They
just both play so purely, and it's killing me right now, Rob, because I don't want to like them.
This is a hard pool, dude. This is other than China, who's a doormat as far as hosts go. This is a very hard pool, and Canada's going to get their 3 hardest matches in the first 3 days.
Yeah,
so that sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. I would say that it's probably maybe the easiest pool.
No, Pool B is the easiest pool. Like I really think that the U.S. got the best possible draw. Like Tunisia, Egypt, and Finland are so bad. Like Mexico at full.
Yeah, I would pick
Bulgaria.
Argentina. I would pick Argentina over Slovenia. I'd pick Netherlands over Serbia. You're right.
For sure.
You're right.
Yeah, I think Pool B is the easiest. I think Pool C might be the hardest. It might.
Or Pool A. Pool A, there's a lot of parity over
there. Pool A, I think, has the most parity. Pool C is super hard. And the Netherlands are going to be a factor too. Remember, the Netherlands and Argentina, every time they play, it goes 5. We saw that match happen at VNL in Ottawa this year. It went 5. Sure enough, those 2 teams go back and forth a lot. They're going to play later on in the week, and it's going to be sweet. So I have to pick Poland and Argentina. I'm sorry to our Canadian friends watching and probably the players. I love you guys. Argentina's so good, dude. They're really, really good.
Trust me, I'm well aware. I've known how good Argentina is for a number of years now. Oh, yeah, I'm just thinking of all the different time Argentina has beaten us in the past decade right now. It's just
There's a lot.
It's like a horror movie, like when it flashes before your eyes before you die. It's like that, but a horror movie.
There's a lot.
I'm also excited to see Mexico versus Bulgaria, the rematch. Because you know what? I want to see the real Mexican team. I've been watching too much crap Mexican volleyball the past month. I want to see good Mexico.
Yeah, it's about time. It's about time we see good Mexico. Give me Diego Gonzalez. Give me real Mexico. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So that's our picks. Yes, we've written them down. We have them on the record. I've got Italy, Brazil, Japan, the U.S., Poland, and Argentina. Everett has Italy, Cuba, Japan, the U.S., Poland, and Canada on the record.
Argentina. Let's just slide Argentina in there like a little bit, you know?
You've got Canada on the record.
Let's make it one of those gag $20 bills when you like, oh look, it's Canada. Then you open up, oh, it's Argentina. Like,
so that's it. This all starts on Saturday. It's the exact same format. Everett, I think we should do a show next like Wednesday or Thursday, kind of like we did last week, where after the first 4 matches, where we catch up and preview like the bangers that are to come the rest of the week. So
okay, yeah, let's see what's up. We'll check the schedule. See what's going on.
Figure it out for next week's show. But before we get out of here, I guess we should at least acknowledge that the United States B team won the Pan American Cup Final 6 for whatever it's worth. We easily beat Canada in the final in Edmonton. Whatever. I don't really care about this. I'm
especially I wouldn't care with that. Like, I think it's a mistake for the roster that the USA brought.
Like, honestly, even though we won.
Yeah, you won, but at what cost? Like,
and we talked about it last week. There's nothing really to say here.
Like realistically, like you've got guys who have played Champions League matches and who are going to play in European competitions professionally this year, whereas the Canadian team, all of those guys have midterms in a couple of weeks, you know? Like, I will say there was a few. I think Andrew Rowan is the fucking truth. Sorry for swearing.
He's good. He's really good.
Dude, he's the best American setter since Micah. He's the best American setter since Micah.
Even though I agree with that, I've been trying not to say it on the record because I want the kid to just like have a good college career and not feel like the pressure to take over one of the best setters of all time. But you can say it. You can say it.
Right?
Yeah, Rowan's really good. He's really good.
The fact that he's got Spra as his university coach too, like,
yeah,
that's crazy. But like, at the end of the day, why is Ewert and Marshman and Niggy and Jalen Penrose and Pat Gassman on this team?
Yeah, let them go. Let them go overseas.
Let them go overseas. Pack this team with university guys, especially in the NCAA. Like, U Sports competition starts in like a month. NCAA doesn't start until the new year, right?
Right.
You know, like the Charleston men's team just finished their beach volleyball portion of the season. You don't need the professionals team USA. You just don't.
It didn't. Whatever. We won the tournament. I don't care. I'm an American fan. I don't care about that. So there is there is only one more event for the entire national team season ever, and it's men's Olympic qualifiers. So that's it. And then we're right back into the club game, of course, because there's no breaks in the volleyball calendar.
I will say, though, big ups to Edmonton. Actually looked like some decent crowds, both Saturday night or Friday night, Canada versus USA, and then Sunday night, the finals. Like a few thousand people there. Love to see it. Love to see it.
All right, people, that's a show. Enjoy men's Olympic qualifiers. Get in the Volleyball Source Discord to follow along with everyone else who's going to be watching. We will be back at some point next week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, to talk about what's been going on in the tournament. And it's been a good national team summer, and we got basically 1, maybe 2 more episodes to talk about it.
All right. Remember to like this video. Make sure to join the Volleyball Source Discord. Remember to tell us where Daddy is. And of course, head over to that volleyball.store and use the code SPICY for 15% off your entire order. All right.
Thanks for watching, people.
Peace.